there is a point that a man gets to in life where he realizes that he's just not happy. He's not satisfied with where he's at. The current state of his life is just not what he thought it was going to be. He's been working, he's been trying, he's been reading his Bible, he's been a good husband, he hasn't been cheating, lying, he hasn't been doing all these things, but life just simply isn't working out for him. Why is that? Right? In this video, I'm going to explain exactly what happens to us as men, exactly how we find ourselves in this situation, and how do we get out of it. Right. So before we get into it, what I want you to know is that there's two types of content. There's educational content and then there's, entertainment content. I do not do entertainment content. I don't make people laugh. That's not my goal. My goal is to make a man better. And so if you value that, I highly, suggest that you subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. It's one small thing that you can do for yourself that will put something in your algorithm that doesn't just melt your brain. We are living in a society right now where a lot of content is just brain rot. You're going to scroll past this video or see another video right after this that's going to be completely irrelevant to your life, like, the fastest car boat ever designed, and you're going to watch it and then you're never going to think about it again, right? So subscribe to this channel, support this page, but more importantly, support your brain with high quality content. We're creating like 2 3 videos a week, so I appreciate that. All right. What happens to a man? See, every man gets to a point in life. He gets to a moment where he says, "Dude, like, what is going on, man?" And he has a moment that I like to call awakening. See, this awakening that a man has makes him finally lucid. Like, he looks around his life and he makes a realization in his life. The realization that he makes is that this is not what he wanted it to be. Like, this marriage is suffering. His relationship with his kids is suffering. Like, everything's kind of suffering. His career, he hasn't gotten that promotion in a long time, right? He hasn't gotten that position as a partner yet. His house is a little bit dirtier or smaller, or he just things aren't where he thought they were going to be. His habits, who he's become, his physical fitness, all these things make a man look at his life, and he wakes up for a second and he has this realization. Now, what ends up happening here is one of two things. He has this realization, and you could be a major realization or it could be a minor realization, one or the other. If it is a minor realization, what will more than likely happen is he'll have this epiphany. He'll wake up, he'll look at his life, and then he'll say, "You know what? I got to do something about this, man. I gotta lock in." And then that motivation to lock in lasts a couple of hours, maybe a day or two at the most. And then before you know it, he falls back into mediocrity. How? Through the comfort cycle. See, the comfort cycle is broken down through dissatisfaction. You're dissatisfied. Life is not what you want it to be. You blame, you escape, you shame, and then you make a promise to yourself, an emotional promise. Then you give effort, right? You try a thing that leads to you feeling discomfort, right? You're not comfortable in that because it's not something you're good at. Then you quit, and then you have another moment of dissatisfaction and then another awakening at some point. See, comfort is the trap. Now, in that minor realization, you might not go through that entire cycle. In that minor realization, you might wake up and then feel motivated and go to the gym once, or wake up and feel motivated and say, "Hey, I'm going to go to the gym once," or wake up and get motivated and do some push-ups, or wake up and, sit down and open up a fresh notebook and, crack it open, or wake up and read your Bible or whatever the case is. Like, but it doesn't last. And it's because you don't understand why you're doing what you're doing. You don't understand why you're in that situation. You don't understand why you need more, but you also don't understand the ramifications of if you decide not to change. Like, it hasn't really hit you yet. And then you can find this in a lot of men who are newly married. You find this in a lot of men who are also a little bit on the younger side. Maybe they're like 35, right? Or younger, 40, starts to break into when you start to have those major realizations. See, a major realization is when you've recognized that you're actually in trouble. And now you actually take things seriously for a time. See, Denzel Washington has a great quote. He says that commitment gets you started, but consistency gets you finished. See, us as men, as leaders, it's not the fact that we add things to our plate that it becomes too burdensome, or adding things to our plate. What we really have to understand is our victory comes from doing less. Our victory comes from not doing certain things, not quitting, not eating junk food, not being lazy, not sitting on the couch when we should be, like, not doing those things. Our success comes from not slowing down. Not by adding more, not by doing more, not by trying to become more. It's just by not doing other things. And so when you really start to look at it, you can take things out of the equation and start to win. That's the point. There's a moment in a man's life where he starts to see progress, and it's not until you get there when you no longer want to quit. See, the point where you start to make progress is the point where you're willing to go all the way. So, for example, a man going to the gym, the first 60 days, 90 days, you might see very little, if no results. But eventually, after 90 days, you're going to start to finally see, wow, my pants are really big. Wow, my chest is really strong. Wow, my shoulders look really wide. Holy crap, like, like this is great. And you're going to start to feel good about how you look, how you feel, how you see yourself, your perception of you. And through that feeling, you don't want to get rid of it now. Now you're stuck. That right there is the key. There's a point you have to push to until you don't stop. And if you can't get to that point, then you're unfortunately going to find yourself in a situation where you're going to have to unfortunately reset. Most men reset. You have to have enough inspiration and enough motivation, enough discipline to get to the point where the thing you're working on, you start to see results in that thing, and now you don't want to stop. And this is why having a minor realization versus a major realization is so different. Some men only have these minor realizations. They never really have a huge epiphany. And the reason why is because they have a really supportive partner who's also equally lazy and also equally like loving. And so, like, doesn't matter how fat you get, they're gonna love you. Doesn't matter how broke you are, they're gonna love you. And they tell you things that enable your behavior. Tell you things like it's okay, like don't push yourself too hard. Don't stress yourself out too much, right? But the reality is you should stress yourself out because you deserve better for your life. And honestly, they deserve better too. They just don't know it because their standards are so low, right? But when a man has those major realizations, a lot of times that is going to be the thing, the wake up call. But the problem with the major realizations is he has to have something that led him there. True poverty, right? A serious bad situation, a divorce, right? A health scare, some type of physical altercation that you lost, right? Your kids saying something radical to you, your parents saying something radical to you, a moment of realization that changes the fabric of your DNA. When those things happen, you have these major realizations. Now, here's the thing though, minor realizations or major realizations that get you started, oftentimes you still find yourself falling short. See, if we just take the time to open our eyes, what we'll see is that the majority of people that we know, the majority of people that are in this country are below their potential. They are living significantly below their potential. Like they are not living up to what they could do. God has given us all a very specific set of skills and talents to be able to do specific things. And most people settle for mediocrity. They settle for a regular job. They settle for, a job at the paper factory. They settle for a mediocre marriage. They settle for a sexless marriage. They settle for a loveless life. They settle for a meaningless existence, right? That's what they settle for. That's why you see a lot of people get divorced after the kids grow up, right? So we find ourselves in these situations where we have so much more potential. Most people never reach it. And even after they have these realizations, they never do. And the reason why is because they've never taken time to actually build themselves or to attach themselves to people who build them because the majority of the people around them are lazy people. And so that's how you find yourself in this trap. See, a man who's really trying to go from where he's at to where he needs to be surrounded by men who are where he needs to be. You don't always have to be that way. You'll find the one guy here and there who says, I'm self made, but the reality is there's always somebody who's been an inspiration to him, somebody who told him that he could do more, somebody that was the example. And that's why you, as a man, the best thing that you can do to fix this when you have these realizations, these moments of reflection in your life, whether they're minor or they're major, is to get a coach, get a consultant, get mentorship. You have to. See, when I was a young man, my first mentorship I joined was the United States Marine Corps. See, I was fortunate enough to have that as a background and to jump into the military, to have men who were doing better than me and honestly push me to a higher standard. But then beyond that, my first paid mentorship, the first mentorship I ever paid cash for, was to learn how to become a speaking a speaker on stage, to learn how to build a business as a speaker. And that radically changed my life for two main reasons. Number one, I found myself in a situation where I finally was building a business doing something that I love to do, which was speaking on stages. But then number two, I put myself into a position where I found the value of investing in myself. And as a young kid from Philadelphia, poor black kid from Philadelphia, that's just something we don't do. You don't spend money on self education, right? Like you don't. Most black kids don't go to college. It's unfortunate, but it's just a reality. And if they do go to college, it's community college. It's not like Harvard, Yale, right? We don't normally do that. And obviously, there's people in the videos like, "Oh, I did," and I hear you, right? But if there's a disproportionate amount of African American kids, right? And it's just because of how we're raised, and so the society does not push us in the same ways. At least where I'm from, in the hood, right? So my point is, once I joined that mentorship, I learned the value of that investment, and it changed my life radically. And then from there, I went on to get more mentors and more mentors and more mentors, and that introduced me to higher and higher level people. And now life began to get better. And so when I joined these mentorships, I was under pressure because that pressure made me have to follow through. Like I invested money. I paid $3,000, $4,000 the first time I had to put on a credit card because I didn't have 4 grand. But my dream was to be a speaker. So I invested in myself. And the thing is, when you find yourself in that situation, when you find yourself in a position where you are betting on yourself, it feels good, but there's pressure. And because there's pressure, you invest. See, a lot of men think that they want help for free. And the truth is you don't. If a man doesn't pay for something, he doesn't actually value it. He might value it for a day, but again, that motivation disappears. But when a man takes his money and he puts it to something, well, now he's committed. And that right there is the secret for your success. As a man in a moment of revelation, an epiphany, your job is to grow as a father. If you have kids, you better start investing in yourself. If you're a husband, you better start investing in yourself. You need to build a legacy for your family. So I'm here to help men if they want to work with me. If not, there's tons of good material, tons of good coaches out there, tons of good consultants that can work with you. If you're interested to see what I have to offer, please do check the description of this video. We have a program that is unlike all programs you've probably ever seen. We build men mentally, physically, and spiritually. And within 30 to 60 days, men overcome anger, they overcome porn addictions and lust, they master their self discipline, and they're on their way to reaching some of their biggest goals. And so I would love to be able to help you too. But whatever you decide to do, you must take action. It's as simple as that. If you found this video at least a little bit helpful, please make sure you hit that like button and show some love. And at the end of the day, you know, I can lead a horse to water, but I can't make him drink.